What's up, crypto junkies? It's Jay, and in this video I want to talk to you about how to move forward after a big loss. In cryptocurrency, man, this market, I'll tell you what, I don't have a ton of investment experience. Like I never considered myself an investor. I was an entrepreneur that took money out and invested in other things. But out of everything that I've gotten involved in my life up until this point, I'd say so, yeah. Is not even compared to what we deal with on a regular basis in cryptocurrency. You gotta understand something. Let's just rewind for a second. If cryptocurrency is this big disruptor that is changing the world, that the elite, that the Fed, that the private bankers, they don't like, then there's evidence and proof of that. Because all day long in the media, there's shit hitting, FUD hitting all day long, right? This guy came out and said this. SEC said this country said this about cryptocurrency, this country did that, rules and regulations here, ICO is illegal there, all day long, and we see the market swinging 10, 20, 30, 40% on a regular basis. This is not normal shit, right? And I know of, in fact, we were just talking earlier today. I was in the Discord chat, which if you're not in the Discord chat, we'll be opening it up again soon. A ton of people have been asking me, hey Jay, how do I join? Right now it's closed down, but we will be pushing out invite links again. We have over 4,500 people in this community already. And so anyway, we're on voice chat and we're talking about this. I know of a guy, several other people chimed in, know of guys that were running crypto hedge funds that have now officially like gone off the reservation, blanked, gone dark. You know, they've had mental breakdowns, they've checked themselves into institutions, they've like reached out for help because they're done. Like they are emotionally just tapped out from crypto, which is insane to think about. But at the end of the day, there's so much FUD, there's so much stuff going on that's hitting the news all day long, right? And it's like just when you think you've like, okay, we're done for the day, like it's good, it's like, nope, Europe just rolls over and they wake up. Nope, Asia just rolls over and they wake up. And so it's just a gauntlet all day long, news hitting. And there's losses that even, you know, some of the old school guys, 2009, 2010 guys, they still deal with. So no matter if you listen to CNBC Fast Money and you bought into Ripple at almost $3 or over $3, or you got involved in BitConnector, a lending platform, or a cloud mining company that's being hit by the SEC or no longer exists, and you've got this big loss. Now what do we deal with? What's interesting to me is that, and this is something I've had to learn through life the hard way, right? I don't know how it is for women, I'm not a woman, but I can tell you how it is for guys, and hopefully guys watching this, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But growing up, like, I'm 32, so growing up, my dad was still in that era of like, don't cry, don't show your emotion, kind of be tough, work, you know, just tough your way through it. There was no real process handed to me. Like, hey Jay, here's an emotional, a loss process for you, right? To handle grieving, to handle a loss, whether it's a family member, whether you bet big on Ripple, whether you bet big in cryptocurrency, no matter what it is in your life. How do you deal with loss, right? And that, I think, overall is a problem in society. And it's fucking sad, actually, because these things aren't supposed to break you. The things that happen to you in life aren't supposed to break you. They're not supposed to just take you out of the game, sideline you, and you hold on to this shit for the rest of your life. They're not supposed to be like that. They're supposed to be something that triggers something in you that you can grow from, that you can learn from, move on from, and help make more impact. Help provide bigger value to the world around you, right? Because at the core, I think that each one of us is here to serve a purpose. And that purpose is at the basic level to provide value to those around us, right? To the world around us, to give back more than we take. And those are very simple, just kind of rules that I think are true, right? You might not agree, and that's cool. But overall, I think you'd agree with me, there's a problem that we don't have an emotional grieving process. And guys, we don't even like admitting like, oh, I got some emotional feelings about this thing. No, because that's like the wrong thing to say, right? So, you know, I kind of grew up out of that and then transitioned myself because I had so much happening through my life that it like pushed me into like more of a spiritual path during a big section of my life. You know, I was meditating every single day for 2-3 hours for 4 or 5 years. Right? I don't do that anymore because time doesn't allow me that anymore. But you know, during that process, so much emotional intelligence, so much breakthrough, so much connection with myself, right? learning from others like Dr. David Hawkins and other big spiritual leaders that I got to experience both personally in my space through reading, through meeting, you know, like I said, personally, whatever it was, I got to piece together my own process. And these processes are very public, right? We have many of them, but for some reason they just don't get out. Like we have the Sedona Method. The Sedona Method is a process for grieving, no matter what the grieving is. It could be I just lost 50 bucks today on trading, or it could be I just lost somebody in my family, right? So that is one process that you could literally go to their website right now, look it up, and it's I think a 4-step process. I don't remember it because it's been a few years since I looked at it, maybe 2015, 2016. But part of what I remember from it is that you look at the problem and you start to look for pieces that you can accept. And you ask the question, is there part of this that I can accept right now? And that, we're gonna come back to that concept, this iceberg and chipping away at the iceberg process in just a couple minutes. But the process that really stuck with me is one that I read from, I don't think it was from one of his books, but Dr. David Hawkins. And it was a process that I put together from reading Letting Go, Power versus Force, Truth versus Falsehood, and a couple of his other books that I'm blanking on right now. And I listened to some of his like audio stuff, right? And he's no longer is with us, but he, for me, was an amazing teacher, right? And we all kind of find like that spiritual guidance that we need at that time in our life. For whatever reason, this process has really stuck with me. Here's what it is. We first have to accept the reality that we're in. What I mean by that is we have to accept that this is where we're at, okay? And we can accept where we're at fairly quickly. Then from there, we have to start chipping away at, because it hasn't gone anywhere yet. The feeling hasn't gone anywhere. We're still holding on to it. And what's interesting about that is when we have the, the trauma, let's call it, we start to hold on to that. So we're holding on to that emotionally. It starts to show itself physically in our physical body because we hold that tension, and so it starts to create these imbalances in our musculature, which if you're an athlete in any sort of way, you've probably realized this to be true, is that there's this magical coincidence between physical pain points in the body and emotional traumas that you're holding. And those kind of come together in different muscle groups in the body, right? And they hang around vital organs that you might have problems with. They hang around different points that from, let's call it a chakra standpoint, might coincide or line up, like low back pain has to do with money, guilt. If I have lower abdomen pain, that can coincide with, a bladder or a prostate problem. Like these things do coincide, and the internal affects the external just as much as the external affects the internal, right? Not to go too deep on that, but so going back to the process, we accept the reality, right? And there's tons of echoing and euphemisms I could insert here, but my favorite one is that it was by Byron Katie. Byron Katie has really great books, okay? I think the work is probably my favorite. When I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. And I remember through my teens and stuff, like if you would have told me this back then, I would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? It just didn't make sense, didn't resonate at all. When I was in my teens, I would constantly argue with reality. I would constantly be so frustrated with my reality, yet not know how to change it, that it would just spiral me out of control into these like zones and just like long periods of unhappiness, right? And if we look around in the world today, what do we see? We see a bunch of people, millions, hundreds of millions of people that do not have a grieving process, okay? So what I'm telling you, understand this is gold. This has taken me probably over $100,000 of flying, books, investing, coaches, workshops to put this together, right? And here it is for you in a YouTube video. I love technology. I love where we're at in 2018. First step, accept the reality. Second step is start to let go. And so think of it like this iceberg, right? We've got this big iceberg in front of us. It's the topic, it's the thing. When we think about the thing, it just overpowers us. In some sort of way, we're feeling it, right? Whether it's in our head, whether it's in our physical body, and then the longer we sit with it, the more we start to feel it, which ultimately at some point turns to anger, frustration, rage, okay? So we're holding this thing inside of us. It obviously can't be healthy. And most people's solution to this is just to suppress it, right? bury it deep down inside. The second step is we got to start to chip away and let go, surrender to the thing itself. I lost $100,000 in cryptocurrency. Surrender to that. Just sit with that feeling and don't try and escape it. Don't try and run away from it. Don't try and justify it. Understand that you think you're feeling pain by just sitting there with that feeling. And we also assume that it doesn't run out. Like there's this endless supply of this pain or fear or suffering that comes along with this memory. But what's interesting is that the longer you just sit there and surrender, continue to surrender, it actually evaporates after a while. It dissipates. It runs out of juice. It runs out of steam. And so the easiest way to do this would be to just start chipping away at it. What piece of it can you accept, if there is one at all? And you just keep stepping back until, if you got to start all the way on the outside of like the most micro thing, like I can accept that I clicked the mouse. Okay, going back to my example, I lost $100,000 in trading, right? I accept that I clicked the mouse. Okay, can you accept that you clicked the mouse to buy? Not yet? Okay, like, you know, and you would literally just start to chip away at it that way, piece by piece. Think of it like this big iceberg, and we're literally just chiseling our way to the middle of that thing from the outside in. And before you know it, just sitting there 5-10 minutes by yourself, going through this while you continue to surrender. You're not fighting it. You're not trying to justify it. You're not trying to play a victim. You're not trying to blame anybody else. You just sit with it. What you start to notice is it dissipates. It loses its juice. It loses its steam. I'm going to take a sidebar and talk about victimhood and blaming for just a second. So there are a couple, I believe, to be the most toxic things that you could allow into your psyche out of anything in this world, right? And the biggest one is the whole cycle of guilt and blaming and being a victim. Okay, and the second one is giving up, okay? The reason why I don't like either one, first and foremost, they're both really easy. Okay, let's admit, blaming somebody else for your problems, it's too easy. Quitting, it's too fucking easy. So we've got this system in America. I'm gonna kind of dog on America for a second. We've got this system in the US which allows people to have zero accountability, make stupid fucking decisions, and then get back in line to collect a paycheck as a victim. That whole vicious cycle, if we don't change that as a society, as a culture, is going to grow into a huge problem down the road, okay? Perfect example of that is cryptocurrency right now, right? So you get scammed by an ICO, you get scammed by a lending platform, you get scammed by fill in the blank, right? You made the fucking decision. I hate to say it that way, okay? Yes, we can blame the YouTubers like me. Yes, we can blame the guy who put out the Twitter post. Yes, we could blame the guy who was seen as an authority, who just forced his mental powers and abilities onto me and manipulated me, and literally he forced my hand to click the buy now button. Search your reasoning. You know how fucking stupid that sounds, but let's just say we're gonna go with it. We can say that, get away with that in a court of law, and get right back in line as a victim. And when somebody somewhere goes after them legally, this thing, person, company, brand, etc., we can collect the paycheck. Now, most of the time, you and I both know it's a fucking $20, $50 paycheck in a class action lawsuit, if you get anything at all. But the fact that it's allowed enables. The fact that it's allowed just continues this vicious cycle over and over and over and over and over again, okay? Quitting is the same thing. Like quitting, wow, you know, I remember back in my day, oh, I used to be this. You see? You see what that enables? It enables this weakness. It enables this, just the bad stuff about, you know, the downside of being a human being, I guess. A lot of it is triggered from being able to be a victim and blame somebody else for your problems, not take accountability. You break your commitment and it's okay, and then quit it, which is the other side of that. So those are very, very similar, but those are two of the most toxic things you invite into your psyche. We invite into our psyche on a daily basis, okay? So the first thing we gotta do is we gotta get real with ourselves on that. And that's where I'm talking about that second step, which is chipping away at the iceberg. Because it comes down to like these layers of acceptance, these layers of realizing our role in this and holding ourselves accountable and then ultimately surrendering to the full situation, and just watch as all the trauma, all the physical body trauma that's been pent up at that point, and all the emotional bullshit that's blocking us and holding us back dissolves. We immediately feel empowered, we immediately feel energized, we immediately feel good, refreshed. Why? Because think of it like we've got the largest light socket in the world that's just been sitting on, running, draining power out of the wall day after fucking day after day after day. And we finally decided to shut off the light switch. Now all the energy is pushed back into the system being our body. And you know this to be true because you've experienced it. I know you have. I know you have sitting there watching this video. You've experienced something like that in your life. So there's some sort of truth that radiates through that, I'm sure, for you. Third step, final thing. Fuck, it's taken us a while to get here. How long? Too long. You know me, I like to talk. Okay, so third thing is we have to make a plan to move forward. This thing cannot have happened in vain. We cannot have just gone through, you know, for me, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over this whole first 6 months of being in crypto. And I have to be honest with myself and admit that that fucking got me. Like, that got me. I do not want to admit that even right now. I'm still a little itchy admitting that in video and just, I don't like it, okay? It sucks. There's just a lot of layers that I had to come to acceptance. Am I there? Am I like out of the woods? No. This, I think you get to a point to where you can move on. You've gotten this big release of energy and you can move on with your life. You can get back focused, get back clear. And then as time goes on, you continue to erode away and erase the rest of it to where it eventually comes down to like this zero, neutral level. But our goal is to just get it down low enough to keep moving forward. Because if it's stifling us, if it's stopping us from moving forward, then that is a problem. The third one is we gotta make a plan. Like I said, we can't make this shit be in vain. We have to apply this to our life and learn something from it. So we gotta make a smarter plan. Let's make changes to our overall portfolio. Let's make changes with not just what are we getting involved in, holding ICOs, day trading, cloud mining, doing our own mining, but out of crypto, S&P 500 stuff. There's a lot of different indexing options through TD Ameritrade. We can get into holding precious metals. You guys know if you've been watching the channel, 5–10% every single month push off into precious metals as our liquidity solution and push them off into collector items like numismatic coins that can be that 10, 15, 20-year strategy. You can get into housing. That's that 10, 15, 20-year strategy, okay? You do that right. Get into apartment complexes, whatever that might be. I know almost nothing about that. I know a little bit about life insurance policies. I know a little bit about, what's the second one? I know a little bit about estate plans. I know enough to get myself into trouble. And precious metals has always been a big one for me because it was easy and I understood it. I understand that if fiat currency goes away, that's what we all fall back on. I understand that, you know, if a meltdown were to happen today, that's the shit we'd be using to basically commit commerce, you know, and do commerce every single day. Execute, that's the word. Thank you. He's back. Okay, so we have to be able to make a plan to move forward. And if you don't know what that is, then you need to reach out to somebody. Beautiful thing is that if you are in the crypto junkie community, then that's what we're here for. Because as I continue to clear out my emotional bullshit, my trauma, and I move on and I get clear and focused on the future, then that invites everybody else to. Whether we have the same exact goals or just you kind of like some of the stuff I'm saying, when I'm more free, it invites you to be more free. So when I've cleared out my shit and I come to you clear, focused, and precise, then it invites you to do the same thing, doesn't it? Just like when I come to you and I'm honest and I'm transparent, doesn't it invite you to do the same thing? Absolutely it does. It's all part of this process that I call pulling my pants down first, okay? Which it might make you laugh, it might be funny, but I've done that for a very long time now. Sharing my experiences because I recognize that it's so powerful for somebody else to hear that. When I'm down, when I need motivation, when I need somebody to kick me in the nuts, I look to hear other personal stories. Whether it's somebody who went through some worse shit than me, or maybe they just, something. I'm searching and I'm listening for that, right? So we gotta be able to make a plan. If you're in the Crypto Junkie community, that's what I'm here for. That's what the moderators are there for. That's what everybody in the community is there for. By now, I'm sure you've made bonds with people. I'm sure you've made relationships with people. Reach out to them. Hey, can we be accountability partners with this crypto shit? Like, I want to start day trading. I got 200 bucks to start. Can we hold each other accountable? Hey, I got 20 grand. I got 5 grand. I got $2. Whatever it is, like, try and grab up an accountability partner. I think that needs to take more of our focus, and that's going to be something that I'm going to be talking about more and more as time goes on. We've got so many great things going on in our community specifically, but there's so many great things going on in crypto as a whole. Meet people, get somebody, hold yourself accountable, hold them accountable, and get to these goals. Reach these goals together. And the last thing I'll say on this topic is just like, if you're not doing this, if you just watched this whole video and you're just like, wow, this is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard, I would challenge you to look at the fact that if you're not getting past these things, you're not moving forward, you're losing. And if you take away nothing else but that from this video, then I've done my job. You have to move forward right now more than ever, because I could make a strong argument that tomorrow's harder than today, 2 days is harder than today, 3 days from now harder than yesterday, or harder than tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And it also in terms of how easy it is to make money. As the days roll on, more regulation. As the days roll on, more investors, more smart institutional money, more bigger money, more whales, right? So as time rolls on, it'll be harder to make money. The market will become more sophisticated, and overall, the level of play will go up. Has to, does with every single market, okay? So every day that you waste, every day that is not spent clear, crisp, focused on your goals, on bettering your life, it's a fucking waste of time. It's as simple as that. No matter how we get there, you gotta get there. Hopefully something I just shared with you in this process, resonated with you, and you can grab and run with that. If not, then find your own process. I would strongly urge you to start searching, to find a process, recognize that that is a problem for you, and start to search for your own process and build that for yourself, okay? And I'll end it there because I can talk about this stuff all day. I've hosted workshops on this. I can talk at length about this shit till I'm blue in the face. I'll stop there. If this is the first video that you've checked out on the channel, welcome. And I really hope that you got something out of this. And if you did, show just a microsecond of support. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, smash the like button. That helps. There's social algorithms at play here with YouTube. We need these simple vanity things. Because what it shows YouTube is that we're getting traction. People are paying attention, whether it's a like of the video, a dislike, doesn't matter, comments, sharing it, subscribing to the channel, that gets us traction. So if you hate this stuff and you're disliking it, you're getting us traction just as much as the guy who likes it. I don't know if you knew that or not. But the social algos, that's how they work. Commenting on these videos, talking about your personal experiences, sharing with everybody reads these comments, the community reads these comments, I read these comments, even though I might not always respond, and there's definitely a lot more topics that I'm avoiding from trolls and different things that I'm seeing being positioned against cryptocurrency channels and cryptocurrency people. There's a lot of the stuff that I'm gonna avoid now that I used to not avoid. But moving forward, just understand that people are reading this stuff and it is valuable for you to share for other people, just not us running the channel and us running the group, okay? And be on the lookout because we'll be dropping more content on the channel soon, my friends. See ya.